Hey, you want to have cyber sex?
What?
Uh-oh, I can't hear you.
Let me unmute it. 1 second. One second here. There we go.
Ah,
Now?
hey. Let me try that again. You want to have cyber sex?
Literally got muted again.
Oh.
There we go. You said what?
Oh, did you not understand the question?
Of course, yeah, I understood it. I just think it's a really weird way to start a conversation.
Oh, really? David, for 15 years, we've been meeting this same weekend and cheating on our spouses. And for the first time in 15 years, we're apart because of the freaking coronavirus. And I know you, since you're so responsible, you haven't seen another woman since the quarantine started. Aren't you horny after being stuck in a little New York apartment for a month?
I'm not in an apartment.
You bought a house in New York.
No, Megan, I moved to Pasadena about 6 months ago.
Oh, how come?
Oh, a lot of reasons. I got sick of living like a sardine, packed into subways, packed into little apartments. Besides, there are a lot of tech companies out here with a lot of venture capital money, and they have no idea what to do with it.
And you tell them.
I'm what they call a business consultant.
How's it going?
I can't complain. Why?
You look like shit. You okay?
I'm fine.
You sure?
When did you start dressing like a hipster?
I've gone back to art school, the Academy of Art University in the city.
Why?
You mean, what do I want to be when I grow up?
Well, you've got to admit it's a bit strange. I mean, starting college, art school at your age, when you're married with 2 kids? What are they, 3 years old? 4?
3 kids. They're 6 and 8 and almost 3. And listen, you think it's easy being the only one in class who remembers when Justin Timberlake had bleached tips? I mean, these kids are doing their TikToks and their Snapchats, and here I am still on Facebook like a boomer. Well, how are your kids? How's Michael? God, I love stories about that kid. He's in the National Guard, right? How's it going?
Um, Tell me why you went back to school.
Okay. Well, it was a brunch out in the Mission that made me decide. Brian's boss, the head brewer, took the whole team out, and I just freaked.
Why?
I'd spent so much time with my kids. I didn't think I was capable of carrying on an intelligent conversation with anyone except about My Little Ponies or Minecraft. I mean, anyway, I sat next to the boss, and he talked, and then I talked. And we had a good 3 or 4 minute exchange before either one of us looked down at our phones. And it was just like a real conversation. Everything was cool until I saw him look down at his plate. And I thought he was looking at his phone. But when I looked down, I realized that the whole time we'd been talking, I'd been cutting up his waffles for him. And so that's when I decided I needed to get out of the house.
But why art school?
I felt super ADHD, like low-key depressed. So I thought school might give me some answers,
Well, what sort of answers?
like how to be woke.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What's the matter?
That expression.
Okay, I wanted to be a good person.
Well, you don't learn that from a classroom.
We're not in the classroom all the time. The protests are lit.
Protests against what?
Donald Trump, maybe you've heard of him.
Protests aren't going to get rid of the president.
Oh, you have a better idea.
Look, I didn't come on here to discuss politics.
Well, so far you've turned down cyber sex and politics. So what? You want to try Super Mario Maker?
I think I'll try Maker's Mark.
Oh, how come you're being such a dick?
Oh, I wish you wouldn't say things like that.
Like what? Dick?
It makes you sound dumb.
You remind me of my mother. When I was 9 years old, I asked her why I couldn't say fuck. And she said, "It makes you sound dumb."
And to get back at your mom, you now feel compelled to use it in every other sentence?
Well, what's crawled up your ass and died?
You want to know what's crawled up my ass? I can't go to the beach without getting arrested. I can't go to the grocery store without wearing a scuba suit and a ski mask. And I've got a teenage son, Eric, who wants to be called Jessica.
That's right, babe. Share your truth. Put it on blast.
I wish people would stop putting everything on blast, especially my daughter. You know what she did? Like, she videoed me with her iPhone while Eric was telling me why he wants to be called Jessica. Then she put it on Instagram or TikTok or something. Hundreds of people saw it. Now her friends and their parents are calling me a boomer. I'm not a boomer. I'm 42.
That's a sign of age, David.
What is?
Well, getting mad when your kids call you a boomer. Besides, there's nothing you can do about it.
Oh, we could try to do something. It's out of control.
Like what, David? Shutting down the internet?
Might not be such a bad idea. Hey, we could start with TikTok. Yeah, I have kids. I know what it is. But for God's sake, have you watched a TikTok video? Half the time, they're just a bunch of people gyrating around poles like strippers. Some of them are strippers. Do you know regular girls take pole dancing classes now?
It's natural for people to be interested in sex, David. You can't stop human nature.
Maybe not, but you can try to slow it down a little.
As I recall, when we first started this little affair 15 years ago, you weren't exactly Mormon about that sort of thing.
That's different. Our relationship is not based upon a casual one-night stand.
You're right. It's been 15 one-night stands.
No, it hasn't. We've actually shared things. For God's sake, I helped deliver your baby in the bathroom of a Best Western Junior Suite. You remember that?
Remember? On that day, we were both the GOAT.
The what?
Greatest of all time. You really are old, aren't you?
Forget it. How is that kid anyway? She must be 4 by now?
2.5. And she's so smart. I mean, she can pull up Paw Patrol videos on YouTube without my help. She actually changed the password on the iPad once and locked me out of it.
Don't you feel guilty leaving her at home while you're off at art school?
Brian's home a lot. I mean, he's not getting too many hours at the brewery. The whole craft beer industry hasn't been too good lately.
How does Brian feel about all this hipster art school stuff? Hey, let's play our game where we tell each other one good story and one bad story about our spouses. I'm ready to hear about Brian.
Well, when I told him I wanted to go back to school because I wanted to improve myself, he said, "You want to work on you? Learn to code, build an app, just get out of the house."
Brian always knew what's up.
David, that was supposed to be the bad story about him. How's Trisha?
She's fine, just fine.
Well, tell me a story that shows what a real bitch she can be.
Jesus Christ, that's not like you.
Oh, we haven't seen each other in a year and we're arguing over video chat. I mean, we need to find something to bring us together. So maybe a bad story about Trisha will make you appreciate me more.
Okay. Well, Trish, as you know, she has this messed up sense of humor.
And by messed up, you mean she's weird and random.
Right. And it comes out at the most inappropriate times. Look, I just signed this new client, old tech, very, very proper legacy company. They still wear suits to the office. Oh. Anyway, one of the vice presidents invited me and Trish over to his house for drinks to network with him and his wife. It was all pretty awkward. You know how I am with new people. But we managed to make it through the drinks all right. Then, as we went to leave, instead of walking out the front door, I walked into the hall closet. Now, that's no big deal, right? I mean, anybody could do that. But the mistake I made was that I stayed in there.
You stayed in the closet?
I wasn't sure they'd see me go in. I thought I'd stay there until they'd gone away. It makes sense, right? I'd just sit there playing on my phone. I was in there for about 2 minutes before I realized I misjudged the situation. When I finally came out, the 3 of them were just staring at me. Yeah, it was an embarrassing situation, but I probably could have pulled it off, except for what Trisha did.
Well, what did she do?
She peed on the carpet.
Wait. She did what?
Yeah, not right away. First, she started to laugh. She started cracking up. No joke, tears started to stream down her face. Then she peed all over their Persian carpet.
Well, what did you say to them?
I said, oh, you'll have to excuse my wife. Ever since her last pregnancy, she's had a bit of a problem. Then I offered to pay for the cleaning of the carpet.
Oh, did that help?
They said it wasn't necessary. They had a cleaning lady. This was back when cleaning ladies were still allowed inside people's houses. You think this is funny?
Oh, I've been meaning to tell you for a long time. I just love Trisha. Trisha is bae.
That was supposed to be the bad story about her. Would she come up any worse if I told you I lost the client?
Oh, when did you get so uptight?
Uptight? Is it uptight for me to not want my wife to pee all over my client's carpets?
I didn't mean just that. It's just, well, look at you. Everything about you is like so corporate.
Well, I'm not some kind of hipster.
Oh, what does that even mean?
I mean, I'm not going to be one of those middle-aged white dudes wearing dreadlocks and playing the flute, taking improv classes, busking on a street corner in Silver Lake on weekends, asking random people, hey man, toss me some beer money.
I wasn't talking about your hair or your hobbies. I was talking about your attitudes.
Well, my attitudes haven't changed. I'm the same as I've always been.
No, you're not. You used to be naive and insecure and a terrible liar and human. Now you're so presumptuous and sure of yourself.
Oh, that's the last thing I am.
Oh.
I was on Twitter the other day and I saw Arby's and Wendy's hamburgers where they were flirting with each other. Arby's, flirting. But you know what really got to me? Thousands of people on Twitter were egging them on and telling them to get a room and just have sex already. Arby's.
Okay, boomer.
I guess. But 20 years ago, hamburger restaurants and whatever the hell Arby's is didn't flirt with each other. They were just hamburger restaurants. Now it's all so confusing.
No, that's much better.
Oh, when did I suddenly become so appealing?
When you went from cocky to confused. So, tell me, if I were there, what would you want to do? Walk on the beach, eat dinner, or me?
You.
I thought you'd never ask.
Megan, you're going to take your clothes off on the internet?
David, you're such an old man.
I'm an old-fashioned man.
The next thing you'll be telling me is that you voted for Trump.
I did.
You're kidding.
Of course not. What are you doing?
If you think I'm going to keep seeing a guy who voted for Trump, you're crazy.
Oh, Megan, don't do this to me. Not now.
How could you vote for a man like that?
Could we talk about this later?
Oh, we'll talk about it now. Why did you vote for him?
Because I have a son who wants to be an Instagram influencer.
What kind of reason is that?
And the best reason I can come up with in my condition.
Well, you're going to have to do better than that.
Okay, Trump was going to end the wars in the Middle East.
By destroying every other country over there.
He never said that. That's the trouble with you people. You never listen.
They're illegal wars of capitalist aggression. We have no right being there in the first place.
I'm sick of hearing all that liberal crap. We've got nuclear weapons. Why don't we use them?
Are you serious?
Of course I'm serious. Wipe the sons of bitches off the face of the earth. Bomb them into glass.
I don't know you. What kind of man are you?
Right now, very frustrated.
Well, all this time I thought I was sleeping with a progressive, or at least a Democrat. I mean, you told me you worked for Al Gore.
That was years ago.
Well, what changed you? I mean, what happened to you?
I grew up.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, you didn't turn out very well.
Okay, let's forget it, okay? You talk about something else.
Forget it? How can I forget it? I mean, being a Republican is one thing. I mean, there's Mitt Romney. But being a fascist?
I am not a fascist.
You're advocating mass murder.
Megan, drop it, okay? Just drop it.
But You stand for everything I'm against.
And maybe you're against the wrong things.
You used to believe in the same things I do.
I changed.
Why?
Because Michael was killed.
Oh my God. How?
It was a roadside bomb outside of Kabul. His convoy was delivering ventilators, helping the Taliban and Afghan government deal with the coronavirus. He was helping them, and they blew him up.
When?
We heard on Easter Sunday. Trish went completely to pieces. I didn't feel a thing. I thought I was in shock and it would hit me later, but it never did. The only thing I've been able to feel is blind anger. I never cried. Not once. Isn't that something? He was my son and I loved him, but I can't seem to cry over him. Look, Megan, I'm sorry about everything. Lately, I've been stressed, and it just seems to be one damn thing after another. I'm sorry, I can't.
Oh, David. David? Oh.
Yay! Good job, everybody.
I've unmuted you, so feel free to clap.
Oh my God, I can't believe you ended it there.
Woo!
That's awesome.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Good job, guys.
Holy emotions. Good job, Daniel.
So, I'd like it if everyone would please, I've unmuted you, but we want to take some questions. So please mute yourself unless you currently want to ask a question.
Hi, Soupy.
Daniel, is there going to be a second act? Because I don't think we can leave it there.
So it looks like Ronnie has a question. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Ron.
we can stick around for Q&A, doesn't matter.
Okay, well, I heard Leslie asked if there was going to be a second act. Yeah, maybe we'll write something else. We'll see how long the shutdown happens and how much extra time I have. But yeah, if somebody else wants to ask another question, go ahead. Oh, Ronnie wants to be unmuted. She says that she is muted.
No, you know,
Oh,
fun to support.
I've made it so that everyone can unmute
a friend
themselves.
that's trying to do something that's connecting with people when you can't.
So I'll check.
Okay, Ronnie asks, she said, it was great. Why did you end
I got it.
there?
Okay, go ahead, Ronnie.
She asked, Ronnie asked why we ended there. We ended there because it was, I don't know, I thought it was kind of impactful. Also, it was it's sort of a parody of another play that ended on a very similar note. And also, if we had a happy ending, I think would be less interesting. So I thought about maybe adding a happier ending, but this was more interesting, I think.
Oh, I think it was. I just, that was shocking. And then I wanted more. So you have to do the second act.
So 29 people tuned in. That's pretty good.
No, that's my dad talking. Dad, your mic's open.
So, what is your guys' view of the relationship between the two of them? I'm curious, since you guys wrote it, would you classify it as in love? Or is it just a familiar love at this point? It's weird, right? They know each other for 15 years, but they only see each other once a year.
That's a very good question. I think, knowing, obviously, having the relationship, hopefully he's on this side for you guys all, having the relationship that we have from the show that we were in, I think that it progressively gets deeper as time goes on. And it's funny, if you've ever seen the show, same time next year, he immediately says, I love you, within the first, couple of minutes. and throughout the show, he just, I think we just fall deeper and deeper in love with each other. At least that's how I see it from my perspective as, like, in this case, Megan. I think that it's just one of those things where you become so familiar with somebody, but because you're only seeing that person one time a year, the lust is always there. And it just keeps it more and more exciting. So you never really fall out of love. It's this similar, familiar love that just keeps getting better every time you see the person. I need tissue.
Do you guys think they meet again, like next year, when Corona's maybe over?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I think they do. I think what's interesting at the end of this, when she stops and Megan like picks up her phone and then so it's possible that they continue the conversation on the telephone after the Zoom call is over. So maybe there's more to what happens that we don't see at this meeting, and then they meet again next year. Any other questions?
I do. Hi.
Hi, Richard.
Good job. One question, or maybe two questions, because I was left confused with two things. First, is a 42-year-old technically a baby boomer?
No.
No, that's a Gen X.
Gen X.
Oh.
That's classic Gen X.
And then my second question was, and I know it was supposed to be an emotional scene, so it's not supposed to necessarily be logical, but when the question was asked about why did David vote for Trump, that was in 2016, and his answer was because my son died, and that was recent. Was that?
No. His answer was because Trump was going to end the wars.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but you're right. It sort of is a little bit implied that his son dying pissed him off enough to vote for Trump, which is not something that could have happened if his son died on Easter. You're right. So there is a potential logical inconsistency, but literally he did say because he was going to end the wars.
Yeah, and I also recognize that people give answers that are fitting whatever their emotions that they're in. So good job on that, because I saw that you were hurt or angry or mix of emotions.
Yeah.
Leslie has a question for you guys. Leslie, do you want to ask it out loud? Well, Leslie is wondering about delivering the baby. I'm going to try to unmute her. There we go. All right. Whoops. What is going on?
Yeah, she asked if she delivered to David.
I'm
delivered.
back.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes, I was very intrigued by this. You delivered this 2.5-year-old, and I'm wondering how Megan could have snuck off at 8 to 9 months pregnant, and her husband have been okay with her not being available for 24 hours and then giving birth to her child in a motel room.
Yep.
I mean, if we're going off the real script here, she goes on retreat every single year at the same weekend, and she's 8 months pregnant, and she happens to just have an early labor where, fortunately, David is available to help her. So that's kind of how that comes about in the real life script.
You have a question from Alana.
Alana, yeah.
It's not letting me unmute. It's weird.
She's asked
why. I'm like clicking unmute and nothing's happening.
We can just read her thing. She said, how was it acting online? Were you able to get into character easily? Yeah, I think it was pretty easy to get into character. It's a lot harder to time when we talk to each other online, and then we can't, like, for blocking, it's like we can't physically move around and turn and do a thing like you can in theater or even TV. You're limited in what you can do. Like Melanie can go like this, and I can lift up a glass but that's about it. So that was a little bit different.
Yeah, definitely something that I mean, I have never done this before. So I am an educator by day and an actor by night. But it's not like I've never been on Zoom, but it's different when you're performing something with a script versus something that is like a training that doesn't have a script necessarily. It's more so kind of like, these are the slides, and you're reading off slides. It's very different, but it's a good different, and I'm really grateful for Daniel approaching me with this opportunity. So well done, Daniel.
Yeah, it was fun. And then Ronnie asked, how did you come up with the idea of doing this on Zoom? I had seen another theater do a show on Zoom, and it worked well, and it was really interesting. And it wasn't just a performance of some other play, but doing it online like this, like it would be like King Lear or something, or the king is here and then somebody's there, and they're not even addressing the fact that they're on a video chat in the 21st century. So I thought it would be cool to do something like that theater did. That was the Moxie Theater, they were called, and they wrote a play where it was different generations of people, and they were arguing. Like, there was a grandmother who was stuck at home, and she was arguing with a millennial grandson who had gone out to brunch and was going to kill her, and so it was really interesting. And I thought, oh, it would be nice to have something like that updated. So I took one scene from a play that we had done before and changed around a lot of the dialogue and made this kind of like a parody of that, and rewrote it. And so like, what happens if those people meet during coronavirus times instead of the 1970s or the 60s, which is when the first play took place.
Do we have any more questions?
No, I have a comment though. I think that you guys did a great job, perfect. And I really like that how you were able to show your emotions, even though you didn't have an audience to play off of. I thought you did a spectacular job just going back and forth with your emotions and everything. It was very believable. Well done.
Thanks, Mom.
Good to see you too, Daniel, and you too, Sam.
Nice to hear you.
It's funny that she says that, because when we practiced a couple times, we had Samantha listening, and we would hear like little giggles or something, and we didn't hear anything this time. So it was a little bit more like in the moment, even though people were watching. It was like, oh, you can't hear anything. So it definitely is a different environment for sure.
Yeah, we don't know when to pause for laughter. Hopefully you didn't laugh over all the
I think I finally worked out how to let people unmute themselves if anybody else wants to ask their questions out loud.
I don't know if anyone can hear me. It says
Yes.
Yes,
Hi,
we
I'm
can.
Josh, and I really enjoyed this. And yeah, definitely all the emotions, the sadness, the laughter, and frustration, all the emotions were conveyed during the show. And I want to commend you for your creativity, for putting this together, and for just producing something. And Daniel in particular, you every night, you're out there, you're performing for everyone. It's just so nice. And so actually my question is, yeah, it's really amazing because I'm struggling to be creative. I haven't produced anything in this time. And so I'm just wondering how you draw the strength and how you stay focused, or what enables you to be creative and productive. Is that just you, or is it something special you're involved in?
I don't know. For me, my day job during normal times is something where it's a little bit hard to be creative because I'm a lawyer, but having something to do after work that is creative sort of keeps me like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's always something fun that I'll be able to do later. So I just like think about it a lot. I don't know. This time is it's like I'm not as productive as I could be, but if I have like this one project that I can work on and I can see that I can do it manageably, like this one scene, and then I have two people that I know that I can count on and that will participate with me, like that's great. But if I had to do this without like Melanie or Samantha to help set up the thing, or without or if I had to write like a whole play that was an hour and a half long, like I wouldn't do that. I would never get around to doing that. So manageable chunks, I guess. Like the piano thing. So what Josh was saying, everyone, is that I play piano every night at 9 p.m. for an hour. just for fun on Facebook Live. And I've done that since they told the government started telling us we weren't allowed to leave our houses. And I just do that every night for an hour. And there's no preparation or very little, Josh, that goes into that. So that's something that helps. If there was preparation or if it was like a really hard project I had to put together, I don't think I'd do it. So the shortness of it and having people that can just turn it on and perform like Melanie, that's what makes it possible.
Yeah, it's impressive and inspiring, and I appreciate it. Well, with this and that. Thanks.
Thanks, Josh.
Any more questions?
I've got another one. So you know how after 9/11 there was like post 9/11 movies and performance, like you started to get like acts of art that incorporated references to 9/11, and it was like a post 9/11 piece if it referenced 9/11. Is there going to be the same thing for Corona? And I'm trying to like think in my head, like this isn't even post Corona, like this is Corona current. You know what I mean? Like there'll be this weird category of art that is Corona specific.
Yeah. There's the #1 song like last week or the week before in sales was a Rolling Stones song that was about being in quarantine, and the music video for it was drone footage of empty areas of London. And, and he wrote it, and he talked about being stuck in his house. So he wrote it during this last month and a half. They filmed the music video and they released it, and it was the #1 song in sales that week. So yeah, I think this is a huge event that's going to prompt stuff forever. We're going to have movies like 9/11 movies.
Oh, I can't wait. Great. Thank you guys. Wonderful job. That was awesome.
Thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate it.
It was great, guys. Did a terrific job. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
You guys did good. That was fun.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Way to go.
Bye, Lana. Bye, Lana.
And if anyone's interested, I'm sending the link to my piano lessons. Or not.
I also made a recording
of
the whole thing. Various people were urging me to do so. So I don't know if it will end up being a really huge link, but I'll send it to Daniel and Melanie, and you guys can do what you will with it.
And thanks so much, Samantha, for hosting this. You did a great
job.
Yes,
Samantha. I really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
Couldn't have done it without you.
Aw, shucks. That's not true, but you're sweet.
Everybody stay safe. I wasn't even drinking. You're the one drinking.
One more question, actually. And this is just me curious. Did you write this with the intention? Did you write this for you as a personal exercise, or did you write this because you had something to share? Did you write to entertain, or did you write it for yourself, or to educate?
I wrote it to entertain. I thought after I saw the Moxie Theater performance, that was really cool, and that inspired me to think like, oh, I should do something like that where people are on Zoom talking about what is happening right now. And then I wrote it with the intent of hopefully. I asked Melanie, like as I was starting, I said, hey, if I rewrote this thing so that we could do it on Zoom, would you do it? She's like, yeah, I'll do that. So then.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Sure. Thanks for coming, Josh.
Absolutely. Be safe.
Everyone wants more, Daniel.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Okay, cool. And thanks for not doing anything crazy, guys, with the Zoom.
I know, that was very nice.
All very well-behaved audience members. No heckling, nothing. Wonderful.
I have a request.
Yeah.
Next time you write something, Daniel, I want to be in it too.
All right, I will do that.
Totally down. If I can we both be in it?
I was about to say, I want all three of us to be in it.
All right, we'll do that. We'll do that.
That would be lots of fun.
Ooh.
Cool. All right.
Any more questions, comments, thoughts? All right, well, I think I'm gonna shut this baby down. Once again, if you're still on, let's have a round of applause for our fabulous David and Megan. Woo! They're fantastic, and it's a real gift to get some entertainment at a time like this. So thank you both for taking the time to put this out there.
Thanks.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you, Daniel, David.
Bye.
All right, good night, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Everybody,
Thank
good
you.
night.
Good night.